Hey, AfterBuzzers! Welcome to the debut of the MacGyver After Show here on AfterBuzz TV. On this episode, look at that. We're going to be breaking down episode 1, The Rising. We're going to do nothing with just a coffee cup, a piece of paper, and hey, AfterBuzzers! Welcome to the MacGyver After Show here on AfterBuzz TV. On this episode, we're breaking down episode 1, The Rising, using only a coffee cup, a pen, and some paper. Let's do it.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Ooh, a little old school.
I like it.
Yes. Welcome, everybody, to the MacGyver After Show here on AfterBuzz TV. We're going to be breaking down the entire season of MacGyver, the new CBS reimagining of the old ABC series there. I'm one of your hosts, Frank Moran. You can follow me on Twitter at HappyGoJackie. And right over here, the resident, the reason we all come here to watch MacGyver and do this after show. If you watch DC Movie News, you know this man right here.
You got it right on the nose, though.
Yes.
DC Movie News, that's me.
They're on Popcorn Talk. It's Mike Kalinowski.
Hey, guys, welcome. Pleasure to be here. I'm excited. Excited. This is my first AfterBuzz show.
Oh, look at this. All right.
I'm popping my cherry here on AfterBuzz here.
I'm excited.
Am I allowed to say that? I think that was a little risque. It's late at night.
I like to watch. This is going to be fun to do. This be this for this intimate moment. Now, folks, as always, we love to have you interact with us. So you can like us on Facebook, give us those 5 stars on iTunes, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hop in the chat, share what your thoughts are about the episode, and we'll break it all down here. So, Mike.
Yes.
Old school MacGyver fan?
Here
we go. All right, here it is.
Get prepared.
Boom!
I'm an old school MacGyver fan.
Look,
always have a pocket knife. I don't always carry this with me. Nowadays, you can't carry these things with you anywhere.
Very true.
We wouldn't even be able to get into work with this thing. I'm an old school fan. I loved the old show growing up as a kid in the 80s. I know it seems everyone's now like, oh, if you grew up in the 80s, that was the time to grow up. And I know people probably get sick of hearing that, but I loved the 80s. That's when I grew up, cartoons, and then the TV shows, A-Team, Knight Rider, Magnum P.I., MacGyver, of course. It was just like, it was this heyday of those great action adventure series that, and so that it's coming back. I'm very excited.
There's always those properties that maybe have been executed extremely well back in the 80s, or maybe it's a great concept and maybe didn't reach its full potential. So how do you feel about MacGyver? Do you think it reaches full potential back in the 80s, or do you think like there's a lot of room left to uncover with this premise?
It's tough. Went for 7 seasons on that show. I've been rewatching them on Netflix. They're all on Netflix right now. It's been on there. It's on Hulu actually too. Or CBS on Hulu, all the old stuff. So if you haven't guys watched it, go and check that out. I want to say it was done, never left you wanting more. They did 2 TV movies in the late 90s, which I recently bought and are not very good.
Ooh.
There was like something about Atlantis, and it was set in England, and it wasn't very good. They worked better as the hour-long episode.
Okay.
But I think it was executed well. Things that weren't executed well were like Manimal. Not executed well. That should come back.
Where's that Manimal?
We need
property?
a reboot of Manimal. or what was it? Automan.
Oh, that's the guy that turned into a car, right?
Yeah, he was a computer. Back then it was kind of ridiculous. People were like, oh, but nowadays, totally go on board for that. But MacGyver, interesting choice for a reboot. Interesting. Yeah. I think we can get into it more later of why I think they went with it, but.
Well, this is not their first stab at trying to continue the MacGyver franchise. They tried a pilot back for the CW with Jared Padalecki from Supernatural fame, where he played the son of MacGyver. So it's kind of in continuity, kind of pushing the story forward. And that didn't get picked up the pilot.
Please remember that at the end when we talk at the end of this, because I want to. When we maybe we'll wrap up our final thoughts.
Oh, yes.
Because that I forgot completely about that. But it makes sense to what I want to say later.
Ooh, okay,
I don't want to get into it yet.
Right,
I don't want to get into it yet. But
and so for this, they reimagined it, and they shot one pilot. They decided to kind of rehaul it all. They, in fact, let go of the majority of the cast except for Lucas Till and George Eads.
How much does that suck for those actors?
I know you think like, hey.
you get the pilot, you're set, and then they always say, don't wait till you're picked up for series, and even then it's like wait till you're in your 3rd year, then you're set. But to get the pilot, it's like the dream of every actor. You're a series regular, and then they go to the network, they show the pilot. We hate everyone except the 2 leads. Recast everyone.
Yeah.
New director was brought on board because James Wan was originally they wanted for the director.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but then schedules happened, and he did Conjuring 2, I believe it was, and then went into Aquaman prep, so he couldn't shoot it. So they had to shoot it with some guy. So then I guess some stuff cleared up in his schedule, so they came back on, and he directed the pilot.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so that one that's out there right now is directed by James Wan.
Oh, interesting.
So very interesting.
Okay.
I would love to see the original pilot. Now, did you see, it was back on what's called upfronts. Now, if you guys don't know what this is when networks shoot their pilots, they do what are called the upfronts. And these are where they sell them to advertisers. It's all in New York. They bring out the stars. They show it all off. And they released, I remember it kind of came out in the middle of the afternoon. I think it was leaked. It was like the 2.5-minute trailer and it didn't look good. Like MacGyver was kind of like a surfery, and it seemed like he was kind of drafted into the group that George Eads worked for. He wasn't like part of it. He was brought in, and he was kind of like a surferish modern hippie, and he had this kind of weird hair thing going on and kind of a bummish look to him, and it just did not look good at all. You could tell like there's problems. And then when they reshot it and they did this new trailer, I was like, okay, they fixed it. They combed his hair. They gave him the Richard Dean Anderson kind of new version of a mullet. Because that's classic. That's what you know him as, is that hair.
Sweet, rocking a sweet do.
Him and Patrick Swayze were the only 2 I think that could rock that do. You and I don't think so.
No, I could never pull that off.
But it had a completely different vibe to it. Even like the font of the show looked different. Like in the original, it had the Swiss Army knife was like one of the letters, and it just looked terrible. So they fixed a lot, but even seen from that a little bit. But I'd love to get my hands on that pilot, the original.
Yeah, that would be cool, because rather than being kind of like a man that's kind of drawn into all the action, right now we see in the premise of this pilot, he's worked for the bomb squad. He has a little military background like that, and then he was recruited into the DXS, which then transforms to what we know, like the status quo by the end of the episode.
That was,
Yes. So yeah, well, let's break in the episode a little bit. And I felt like the beginning of this, as we're talking about the Rising, it felt very much like True Lies to me. Where they're just sitting in some kind of like nice little Italian little far off little place, a little mansion, a little party. He's coming up in his tux. We've got George Eads over at by the boat, kind of hanging off on the side. We've got like the Tom Arnold, the tech person, hanging out in the van.
It's very, very, very True Lies.
Yeah, I was like, all right, kind of good deal.
It's interesting because talking to a lot of my friends who are writers and that write shows, and I'm just trying to get a feel for how it works. And that's not that I am a writer, but they always say that the first 10 pages of a pilot script has to show how the show is going to work. So if you watch any pilot, you'll always notice that first 10 pages kind of gives you a feel for the show. And it did in this. You got the team members, the team dynamic, and what he's doing. So even if you just watch the first 10 minutes of the show, you know what that show is going to be about.
Now, I guess maybe more like a modern day kind of MacGyver was Burn Notice on USA.
I never got into Burn Notice.
It was cool. I mean, he was like a burned CIA operative hanging out in Miami. But the thing that kind of made it comparable to MacGyver is the fact that he would kind of come up with novel ways of trying to accomplish certain tasks. And he would do a lot of narration, kind of breaking down, like, if you were going to do this, you would want to do this, 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 and this. So very much kind of MacGyver-esque in the way he would kind of jury-rig certain things.
That word. Is it jerry-rigged or jury-rigged?
Jerry-rigged.
Because I was like, well, that's a good word, but then I was like, I don't know what it is. No, we got to ask you guys out there.
Jury-rig, I think it's when you're rigging a jury.
Right.
So jerry-rig is when you're trying to just like take a bunch of stuff and make something out of it.
Who was Jerry back in the day that was such a smart guy? They're like, we got to jerry-rig this thing.
That's right.
There's got to be some kind of way for that saying to come up. And I was always like, jury-rigged or jerry-rigged? Who's Jerry out there? And what do they rig to make it happen?
That one Jerry's like, hey, that's after me, guys. I'm the rig.
That could have been the name for the new MacGyver, jerry-rigged. They didn't want to go with the name.
That's right. So this way, instead of like having him do like all narration, they do a little thing where he narrates slightly, but then they also use chyrons to kind of identify certain items that he's using to kind of create something else. Did you like that approach?
I didn't. How about you?
It seemed kind of weird to me.
I forgot when I'm watching it, the narration, but then I'm like, oh no, he did in the original show. He did that a lot, but I want to say they stopped doing it after either a couple episodes or a couple seasons. They stopped with his narration. I want to say, because I read this great article, the creator of MacGyver, a man by the name of Lee David Zolthoff. I could be saying his name wrong. In the 80s, he was a creator, and I remember when he was brought on, Richard Dean Anderson thanked him because he got rid of all the narration in the original pilot script.
Oh, wow.
Something like that. Real quick history lesson on MacGyver. Oh, there it is. Jerry built or jury. Where? Oh,
Yeah, there we go.
Jerry built or jury rigged.
Ah, something poorly built is jury built. Something rigged up temporarily in a makeshift manner with materials at hand, often in an ingenious manner, is jury rigged.
That seems like a whole Seinfeld episode between those
right.
two right there, those words. But for the pilot, the original MacGyver, Henry Winkler, who we know as the Fonz, who produced it, and he's also, I believe, part of this show, he had this idea for a show, and it was called Hourglass. And the concept was, this is pre-24, they wanted in real time a single episode. And it wasn't like 24, it was 24 episodes, so each hour would build. This was like, nope, one episode it's a standalone episode, heroes in real time. And the guy's like, I can write you a pilot, I can't do a series for this. And he thought about it. He's like, I should have just taken their money and let them figure it out because he was only hired for the pilot. But he sat down with some friends of his and he came up with this concept. He's like, oh, we always got James Bond. We always got the hero. They've always got these gadgets. What if I strip them away and don't give him anything? And he's got to use his brains and a pocket knife because the guy always had a pocket knife on him, the creator. He's always carried it. And then the name, for the whole time they were talking about, they just kept calling him Guy. Well, Guy does this, Guy does that. And like, all right, Guy. And at the time in the 80s, McDonald's hit the boom. So they thought Mac Guy, and they called him Mac Guy for a while. And they're like, 2 syllables doesn't really work. Let's go with 3. And they put the ver in there as MacGyver. And that's how he created his name. So the principles are still there, and the narration was always there. That was a long way to get back to that, but I'm sorry. But yeah, the narration doesn't bother me, but it almost seemed it was dumbing it down for the audience. Like it said, when he pulled the dust out of the tailpipe. And then later it said, soot.
Yeah.
Well, we saw that.
Right.
So we knew that. And I think the audience, they're dumbing it down. And I think the audience is smarter than that. And especially on a network like CBS. I think CBS is a very, their demographic is older. So I don't know if you would need, every time he pulls something, it says something.
Yeah, it's at least what I thought was interesting about Burn Notice. It was just, he was telling you really kind of like ingenious ways to make these simple kind of things and how a spy makes certain things happen and why they do that. And it's kind of cool to learn the methodology of a spy.
Not just like items. He was saying, I only watched a couple episodes.
Yeah, they would the way they would kind of work an operation or how they would use an asset and kind of put them in play too.
Oh, okay. So it's explaining for the layman in the audience who weren't spies. That works, but this was just kind of the narration. I guess was nice, but the text for each object he was pulling, like, well.
Yeah,
I don't
know. And we do find out like his team right here. We have Nikki Carpenter. She's an MIT grad. She kind of has like the tech support for everything. Mm-hmm. And then we've got Jake Dalton, who is also in the original series, kind of reimagined here.
Right, and he was it Bruce McGill, right? Dalton was played by Bruce McGill.
Okay,
the original, and he was who was a great actor. I love that actor. And the girl, I didn't realize, I had to go back and look, she was an original character on the show, on the original MacGyver.
Okay.
That character, her character was, I don't think she was what happens in this episode, I don't think happened there. She was brought into the Phoenix Foundation as another agent, and her and MacGyver kind of had that moonlighting thing going on.
A little witty banter.
Yeah.
Did they ever in the original?
I don't believe so. He always seemed he never had a romantic interest. I think they kept it almost open for every episode, but...
Well, they changed it pretty quickly in this one. At least they set up that he and Nikki...
yes, they did.
He and Nikki get a little freaky on the keys.
Yeah, that was interesting for me. It kind of took me a little bit out of it. I didn't really care for her right away, but I didn't see the surprise. I did not see that coming.
No, I thought it was just what we saw happens. I thought I took it at face value, everything that we saw until the reveal. I was like, oh, all right, that makes me kind of rethink some things.
Right.
And then also as he makes his way in, and as he says, he doesn't need to bring a weapon because he's so smart that anything he uses, he can turn into it if he needs to. He can improvise. We meet Patricia Thornton, who's the most successful clandestine operative there, and she's MacGyver's boss. Kind of interesting to always see the boss in the field.
Yeah, what was she doing there? I was kind of like, because she's kind of like the point man, and in the original it was Pete Thornton, played by Dana Elcar.
And he had glaucoma later in life.
Yeah,
right?
and I didn't realize this. They worked that into the show.
Oh, interesting.
I was doing some reading up on the show, Because I always remember he's kind of a bigger guy, you know. But yeah, he had glaucoma, and yeah, they worked it into his character into the show. So I was like, oh, kind of
very
cool,
cool.
yeah. Which was interesting though to see the dynamic, switching it up. They always seem to do that when they reboot. They change the gender, which I don't know if it's a standard thing to do.
Yeah, it seems weird because it would be, imagine like James Bond and then M is in the field, and then like M he briefs him in the field. You're like, well, why is M here? Why?
That was, and I don't. Again, maybe we go back to the first 10 pages. You've got to establish everything. So maybe they had to get her in there somehow. It was a weird because I expected her to do more.
That's true because she just says, okay, it's in this room. Good luck. We'll see you at the drop point. Like, okay, bye.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah,
but I was like, okay.
Yeah, so he is there to get some kind of asset. He doesn't know exactly what it is.
The MacGuffin. We don't know what it is.
MacGyver's going after the MacGuffin. And he has to. We finally use some soot from the car that he drives up in, and he has to beat a first point of intel that's incorrect. Is what he thinks he needs is one fingerprint. He realizes he needs a whole hand scan.
Yes, all 5 digits.
Yeah, so interesting. I mean,
how does he get out of it?
Yeah,
hence MacGyver.
There you go.
Thinking about this, the writers have got to be really smart because I'm like, who knows if this stuff really works? But I think that was always the tenet of MacGyver was it's possible. You know, there's a realm of science truth to it, of everything that they do. So the writers, when they come up with it, like, you know, he shaved, took his knife, shaved the plaster off the wall, put it on the keypad. And this was cool because the narration you needed, because he was saying how when we touch stuff, it leaves oil. And so he put the dust there to kind of give it, and then he put his sleeve up and printed it down so there was pressure on it.
Yes.
So it kind of used the finger oil that was there to fingerprints, which he was narrating that. So I'm like, yes, this we need.
Yes.
That we need to know what's going on. Approach. Yeah, I thought, hey, if it will it ever work? Who knows? But we can believe it does. So
I know a vault. We can try it later on.
You do?
Yeah, let's do it. I just know a vault that needs a handprint thing.
Do you know a mansion that has a special room like that with a pedestal in it and lights? Like, why do all the bad guys, whenever they're hiding something in their mansions, they have a special vault with a perfect pedestal that's lit perfectly?
Yes.
Why is it always like that? It always is.
And I would think that anybody that's watched enough of those movies or seen those TV shows, you realize that whatever you see on the pedestal, don't just lift it right off the pedestal.
Never.
Don't. Come on. Come on. You know that there's going to be some alarm, and sure enough, there is an alarm. Come on, MacGyver. You should know better than this.
MacGyver.
This, I feel like, is where we depart a little bit from the series, because from what I understand from the original series, MacGyver, not really a man of action, didn't really use the fists and stuff. He used more of his just mind and ingenuity to get out of situations.
He was not the fisticuffs guy. Never used he used a gun in the original pilot, but he never really used a gun after that.
Oh, interesting.
Now he had an aversion to weapons. He would not use them.
No, that's cool.
And I thought about that. I was like, oh, he used one in the pilot, but no, he threw him the gun and he used it to hit him. He didn't shoot anything.
Yes.
So that was his. Yeah, he was never. It's interesting because in this he is fighting a couple times hand to hand, and it kind of lessens the role of Dalton. Who Dalton's kind of the muscle.
Yeah, very true. I mean, and I guess the difference is like if Dalton can't be in the room with you, then he still needs to be able to do something.
Yeah. That's a weird point of contention for me, if I could say that. It seems like in a show, the lead character can do everything that's needed of him. I'm like, where do you learn to fight? Well, he said he was in the military, right? So I'm kind of, all right, well, they throw it away with that. And then later he speaks Spanish, and he says it because, oh, you and I went on a trip there, so I learned Spanish. And I'm just like, they throw these little lines to explain away the fact that he can do these things, and I'm kind of like, it's a cop-out for the character to do what they need to do. But, you know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I feel at least, given what we saw through the course of the episode, certainly by the end of it, I feel like his strength in hand-to-hand fighting, he's not completely a badass at it.
Yes, that's true.
I feel like he can at least, momentarily hold his own, but I mean, certainly somebody that's a little bit bigger, a little tougher than him, I mean, he's just going to be struggling in the whole way.
Yes.
So, which at least I feel like that's a good compromise.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we find that, though, he is able to kind of, beat up the two kind of guards that kind of come in, uses that really super heavy serving platter and throws it like a discus across the room.
That was true. I think maybe that's why they needed to put the text in, because it said, like, was it titanium? I was like, no serving plate stopping bullets. But, hey, the text came up and said it's titanium or whatever, so it's stopping bullets.
All right, thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. He gets out, and we get into our sort of our true lie / Raiders of the Lost Ark kind of moment where...
Jocks.
Yes.
He's a dog. I forget what it sounded like he was calling him Jack. Is it Jack Dalton, right?
Or is it Jake?
Jake.
Yeah.
Jack, but I kept thinking Jock from Raiders of the Lost Ark, and it had that feel to it. I was like, and that's what they were going for. I'm sure that's an homage to that scene.
Yeah.
So
Start that boat.
Yeah, so it was good.
Yeah, they do a little boat chase. They end up able to elude their captor or the people that are pursuing them, and they get back to the van and they find Nikki is being held at gunpoint by Vinnie Jones.
Took me out of it. Vinnie Jones. Yeah, I think it seems like when a script calls for a big menacing bad guy, they go to him.
Yeah, especially
Always.
somebody if you want to have like like a British accent, or
some
something.
kinds of European threat. It's like the third or fourth TV show. Arrow, he was on. He was on the show The Cape for a while as a bad guy. So it's like, I know there's more actors that are menacing and big like that in Hollywood. I'm sure you could find them.
Yeah.
So it just seems like, it almost seems like in the breakdown they go, we're looking for a Vinnie Jones type. I'm like, well, we can probably get Vinnie Jones. Oh, you can? Okay, get him. So it kind of loses the appeal because well, it's, when an actor like him is known for a certain thing, you know what you're getting. He's a menacing bad guy with an accent. So, could have been anyone. It was like, I didn't see the point of getting a Vinnie Jones to it. I don't know if he's got an audience that brings people to MacGyver, the show, but who knows?
Especially for how little he's used in this.
Yeah,
And you're like,
that's what I'm saying.
That's all you got out of him?
Yeah.
At least Arrow used him for multiple episodes.
Right. He was a character, and this was just kind of like, you're not even the main bad guy, really.
No, that was it.
So,
but of course, he says, MacGyver, hey, give me the biological weapon that you have, or I'm going to kill your girl here.
Yeah.
And I guess in that situation, I guess you got to do the right thing, I suppose.
Do you?
Yeah, I don't know.
He's a good guy, so you have to.
Yeah,
He's a good guy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you do that, and of course, as always, the good guy gives up the asset, and then the bad guy, of course, doesn't keep true to his word.
No, never.
Yep, knocks out Jake, shoots Nikki, shoots MacGyver, takes off, and that's how we start the episode.
We're starting that. I did not see that coming, killing her. I didn't think so.
I was like, oh, all right, interesting.
Yeah, that was okay.
Yeah,
not didn't follow like the True Lies type, that we were all on the trip for. So it was like, a little swerve.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, there is some danger to this and potential casualties for this, which kind of like raised the bar.
It's always cool when shows do that, where it's like no character is safe. So you're like, okay, these are the rules you're setting up. All right, fine.
Yeah. And we flash forward 3 months. It's still haunting MacGyver. He's doing some runs up there in Griffith Park.
He was up there in Griffith Park.
Yeah.
And I forgot, in the original show, they don't do a job establishing it on this one, but in the original show, he lived in Griffith Park. Like, his apartment was like right next to it, which those of us that live in Los Angeles know you can't have an apartment right next to Griffith Park in that area. It's all just dusty woods and hiking paths up in there, but he's got an apartment up there.
Oh, all right.
So that made sense because they were showing Griffith Park as like, and then the next scene is him in his apartment, his little lofty thing. So, and maybe he lives up there like in the original show. I'm like, that's a nice nod to it.
This seemed weird to me. The fact that he has to have a cover, which is his best friend, who's also his roommate, and this really like swanky pad. I didn't. It's weird because it didn't it didn't do an establishing shot of his place either. So he's just running and then he comes in. So the location is weird for me. I'm probably one of the only people that thinks of something like that. Yeah.
But then he comes in and he's got the whole best friend that was staying with them, but it's a cover, and like, why do you need a cover? You don't have another life.
Yeah. That seems so weird to me too.
Yeah, it's your secret identity, but you don't have any family or friends. You don't need to have you don't have another job that you're trying to keep covered and why you've got to get away from. You just have this roommate that works, I think he's a fry cook or something.
Yeah. He's got a roommate, Bozer, I guess a childhood friend. Yeah, I'm like, all right, but he makes him waffles.
And this guy was in the original show, and I do not remember this character. I think he was only in a few episodes, but there was a character with this name. And I didn't see the episode, so I don't think he was a roommate. Because the original MacGyver in that show, he was in his mid-30s, and this guy seems about 10 years younger.
And there was no feel like he had to have a cover. I mean,
no, he just did things to help.
Yeah,
that was his job, which was interesting. And I don't know. I like that actor. He was on Rush Hour.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
he was the Chris Tucker character from Rush Hour, and we both know someone that worked on that show. Oscar.
Oh yes.
He was his stand-in.
Yeah.
And said nothing but awesome things about this actor.
Oh, that's great.
The crew loved him. The cast loved him. He showed up on time. So I think that was a question of CBS going, "Yay, we like you." That other show didn't work because he was not part of the original pilot. He was brought on for the reshoot.
Oh, interesting.
So that's cool, a little behind the scenes. I love that when actors that are good and are people like them, they take care of them. So they brought him on for this show.
That's cool. I'm just curious, like, what this character buys you in the world of the show.
I don't know.
Yeah. So I guess
it didn't add anything. That whole scene could have been taken out.
Yeah.
And it was weird.
Because it feels like ultimately, if you're going to establish this kind of friend or roommate that is your cover story, at some point, the two worlds are going to cross, and he's going to be brought into that world, and he's going to find out that, oh wait, MacGyver, you're more than just like some tech guy.
Yeah, what did he say? He works in an IT place, right?
Yes.
So I'm like, I don't know why you needed it.
Yeah. Only for us to get like that episode during February sweeps when he goes, wait, you're a secret agent? What?
Or he comes home and there's guys there with guns, and he's like, what's going on, MacGyver?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I should have told you.
That's right. This time, or he ends up getting kidnapped.
Yes.
And MacGyver's got to
A plot device.
Yes.
So we'll see what happens.
All right, Bozer. So we find out he's doing some shower. We get to see the scar, the bullet shot,
That's right.
bullet wound there. And a good old Patricia Thornton comes in and says, hey, we gave you some time off, but we need you back in the field.
We need you, Mac.
Yep.
Mac's got to come back.
We can Mac attack. Because there's a biological weapon, and he's the only guy that can really
The
handle
one that they let go 3 months prior. It's still out there.
He's still out there, and it's cool. It's a
Now, I'm sure you're probably gonna answer my question right now.
I mean, it's a 30,000-year-old virus.
Yeah, that was cool. Because in the first 10 minutes, it was just like, oh, a virus, okay, it's not nuclear, it's biological, this and that. But then it's like, oh, it's like a plague. It's from ancient times.
Yeah, like a prehistoric virus.
Yes, this was cool. I was like, okay, it's getting a little bit more. And again, we don't need to know anything about this. It's just a nice little add to it.
Yeah, and there's just like a little, some scientists in Greenland were exposed to it and die. And it was kind of like a proof of concept kind of.
Yes, yeah. Now, did you find, I had never heard that word used before like that, biologic. They kept saying it, this is a biologic.
Oh, yes.
Which I was like, they always talk biological, it's biological. And this, she kept over and over using the term biologic, which I've never heard before, which was interesting. I was like, okay, I wonder if that's true. Real word. I've never heard that in any context, like in our world where we talk about biological weapons or anything.
Yeah.
But either the writer is a great, he knows what he's writing. The guy that wrote this wrote Hawaii Five-0, I believe, the pilot. So he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
But it added a level of realism to it. I was like, oh, okay, this is, a little, not just terms we hear every day.
Yes.
So I like that.
And it's certainly, I feel like it makes it a little bit more menacing because you can't, people know like Ebola or something like that. You kind of know you may not know all the ramifications, but like kind of the
And it's in
deadliness.
our world. We know it's out there. This
Yes.
is something that was kind of like, oh, we don't know what this is.
Yeah, it's even crazier. Who knows how much more damaging this could be if this was released.
Yeah.
And so Finney Jones, who they thought was the original buyer for this and was kind of like the end game, he was the guy. No, he's basically another broker for this.
A little middleman.
Yes, and they're moving it off and they're doing a sale. But they realize that Nikki's got all this information, all these people that they saw at the party on her hard drives, and it's all encrypted.
And no one can crack it.
Nobody can do it. It's too tough.
What's going to happen?
Jake luckily knows somebody in prison right now.
Edward Snowden?
Yes. They flew over to Russia, and they said, Edward, we need you. Edward Snowden's not part of MacGyver. Oh, biologic. Look at this. Jonathan.
Oh, my God. He's on top of it.
Look at this. Oh, there's a growing interest in the biologic activities of plant extracts and the treatment of diseases. Another term for biological.
See, I like that. Like, that to me is a smart writer because, they probably could have just clicked thesaurus and put biological and that pops up. But they did some research into it because I would never have thought, I've never heard that word, but I was like, it just added a different flavor to, we've seen shows like this all the time. We see the single action lead. So anything you could do to make it different or stand out and another thing, everything, again, I know to talk about writing is like, you want all your characters to sound different. If you're reading the script and every character sounds the exact same, like the Bozer character, him and MacGyver speak very differently.
Very true.
And it plays to their strengths of the actors. But also her, now with this term, it adds she's a different way she speaks than MacGyver. So it just a character thing, perhaps. So it's a smart writer and something which I like to see.
No, and certainly what we see with Jake and MacGyver, there's this long-running friendship. So which they keep alluding to this Cairo incident back. That was kind of some adventure that really brought them together. That they don't like to really talk about too much, but you can see it seemed like it really brought them together. Yeah. And so it's kind of cool to see like just how close those two are.
Absolutely, and they see just by doing that little nod, we have history of them. So very smart.
And one person that Jake also has history with is who they think he thinks another computer programmer, this person Riley, who's in prison. Right. Just as capable as Nikki, but kind of working on the other side of the law.
She's a little bit of a. She kind of had like a Robin Hood thing going on with what she did. She's in this prison, and they go to meet her and try, I guess, solicit her aid.
And I like that Patricia Thornton is not keen on them like springing her and using her for this. But as what he says, like, you want me, I use the tools around me. Right now, this is a tool that I need. That
was cool. Yeah, it's like, okay, yeah, because you always assume MacGyver's using physical objects, but well, he's got to use this person. Well, it's great. I mean, and you know, she gave the history that she had done some bad things, which why she's there, but they were to help people and help good people. She's like, what would you do? You know, so he sees that this is not a bad person. He's not springing a killer or something. This is a person that just followed what he probably would have done.
The one, as we talk about like the graphics, and we don't like when they kind of point out the items that he uses. When it highlighted paperclip, when he used that to get her out of the cuffs in prison, I was like, we know it's fine. He don't.
That's the thing. There's so many. There's one thing that happens later that I definitely want to talk about, but I'm just like, paperclip. We know what that is. But it was cool.
It was very cool.
She didn't even know what was going on.
No, I like that, but I was like, thanks, guys. Cool. Oh my God, that was a paperclip. I didn't realize that.
That's what that was. Because it didn't look like a paperclip. It was unfolded.
Yeah. Oh, I would never
know. They would have said unfolded paperclip.
Oh, got it now. All right.
Yes.
We see Riley does waste no time. She just gets right into it, starts smashing around that computer, tearing it all apart, and immediately it's just like, okay, here, just use this, get around all these logic bombs.
And if you guys have watched it, and are much more technical savvy than I am, I don't even know what she said about pulling this to do the redrive. And I'm like, sounds good.
Yep.
It sounded like Star Trek technobabble.
Yes.
But there are probably people out there going, nope, that's absolutely not, you cannot do that at all. But hey, to those of us that don't know computer stuff, I was like, oh, okay,
all right.
I can do that.
Logic bombs? That sounds like a really cool threatening thing.
Yeah, you can do that. Sure.
All right, put that in. Okay, I won't mess with that.
But it worked.
So they're able to track. They find out that Vinnie Jones is actually good old John Kendrick. And right now he's making a sale to Benjamin Chen in San Francisco.
Chen, that's right.
They track him all the way down to San Francisco. They find out that he's at a hotel. They're able to get like lifetime streaming of him on a camera.
And it's cool that they use that because they pulled, she said, well, I put this face in the software and any camera that's live, I can hack into it. And it's like, that can happen.
Yeah.
That is not techno babble. You can do that. And it's just like, it's kind of scary. It was very scary to like, I think there was a lot of press going on about the Snowden movie coming out and some FBI people were being interviewed and they said, whenever you use your computer, put tape over your webcam. Those were people, former FBI agents. They said, they can access that camera even though you're not using it or turning it on. We got our laptops and the webcam. They said, put a piece of tape over it.
I take my shirt off every time I'm on there. It's like, why not?
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
Guys, enjoy this, huh?
If these guys are watching me, they're getting a show tonight.
That's right.
And then when I thought of that, I was like, oh, my God, that's some things in front of my camera. Oh, God.
What have I done?
Well. We're never running for office or anything, so it'll be fun.
I'm good. I'm good with that. Yeah. Show that video. I'd be happy. I'd be happy to do that. So we see they get to the hotel in San Francisco, and MacGyver says, "Hey, the best way to, rather than go door to door,
right?
Let's just start a fire. Hit the fire alarm and get everybody evacuated in the hotel. That'll be easier for us to kind of spot them."
Now, this was my first moment because he took ammonia, was it acid, hydrochloric acid, whatever, in the cabinet in foil. Mm-hmm. Put it in a bucket, smoke alarm. Why didn't they just pull the fire alarm?
Yeah, that's true.
That was the one thing I'm just kind of like, they needed to do MacGyver something. I mean, maybe they didn't want to get everyone wet. That's the only thing because the smoke, the rain would. When you pull the fire alarm, does the sprinklers come off too? Or is that just a fire?
Or just a fire alarm? I don't. But even if it was smoke, wouldn't the sprinklers turn on too?
Yeah,
because they would think it would be fire.
That was my first. When I noticed with the writing, I was just kind of like, oh, no, just pull the fire alarm. Or I can see MacGyver, like, that's what they should have having MacGyver do this, and Jack just goes,
yeah, exactly.
And he goes, okay, you got me on that one.
Yeah, sometimes you don't need to do something really elaborate.
All right, Brainiac, this works better too. See, there we go.
Yes.
I think we're right on that show. Come on,
there
guys.
you go. We're going to be in the writer's room. Welcome us in.
Yeah, come on. You guys can have that one for the next episode.
But then we see the first little twist of the episode as we realize that MacGyver sees Nikki in the hotel with Vinnie Jones.
I have a lot of friends that probably would have picked up on that. That I did not. I didn't see it coming. But my friends are like, oh, I saw that in the first 10 minutes of the episode.
Oh, interesting.
I'm like, I have some friends that are writers, and that's where I get some of the things that I talk about writing, and they pick up quick on that. And I don't know if I'm just not paying attention or just a suspension of disbelief, and I just kind of am on the ride. I don't know what tips them off. So For those of you guys that watch it, and let us know, did you see that? Because I did not see it. You?
I wasn't. I thought it was just going to be, especially after we saw a little flashback of them kind of playing around in the weight room with the handcuffs and stuff. I thought it was mostly just going to be her going to be kind of flashback in that first episode as a way for her to him to get past her and move on.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I thought that was the reason that we saw those flashbacks, not realizing
right.
Nope, she's still really in play still. So she certainly became much more important than I realized at this point in the plot.
Yes.
I thought she was like, oh yeah, somebody from the old team died. I kind of set the stakes for their adventures, and we're just getting somebody to replace her.
Kind of like Emilio Estevez in Mission Impossible.
Exactly.
Like, we're taking a main character, we're killing him off, just so you know this is serious.
Yes.
So yeah, that for her to come back caught me off guard, and I was like, oh, here we go.
Yeah. And we see, rather than using fisticuffs to take down Vinnie Jones, MacGyver.
fisticuffs.
No, he can't take down Vinnie Jones. Fisticuffs.
Not MacGyver can.
No.
Little guy. He's a little guy.
Yeah.
Compared to him.
So he does a little. He drops a fire escape.
Yeah. Pulls the cord on him and drops it right and knocks him out.
And then we get a little torture scene with Jake just using a nail gun, trying to get that info out of there.
Tool near his tool, as he said in the episode. I like that. I like that aspect of the Dalton character, kind of the rough and tumble. It's weird that it's George Eads in the role because he's always seems so very clean cut to me. I know they kind of dirtied him up a little bit. They talk about his clothing not being washed and whatnot.
Give him a little growth.
Yeah, it seems like that should be a little more surly actor in the role. Maybe not as handsome as he is.
Yeah,
kind of. George Eads is kind of like he has a very cool vibe in this role. But hey, he's the muscle. That's what he is.
Yeah, but it's like weird. Like I would not look at him and think immediately muscle.
That's what I'm saying. Like if they went older, I could have seen him being MacGyver.
Yes.
If they went older, like the original in his 30s, I could have seen George Eads as MacGyver.
Yeah.
Clean shaven. Now what was he on? What ends was it?
CSI. Yeah.
CSI. CSI. That I was like, oh, he could be MacGyver. So to see him be the kind of muscle. And he looks great, They make him bigger, especially than MacGyver, and he looks like he's the rough. And doesn't look. I mean, he looks like he can take care of himself and could take care of someone else. So it was just that's weird casting. I'm not 100% sold on yet.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that one develops. But I also thought this scene was weird too because at least MacGyver, they're willing to think that Nikki's being forced into this. They find it very hard to believe that she is going along with this willingly.
Right? Yeah.
Like, guys, she was hanging out with Vinnie Jones and she ran away from you. So. I don't think she's really.
Yeah, maybe it's one of those last you don't want to believe it.
Yeah, I guess. We found out, if you look up, she's got a bank account under her mother's name, and I'll tell you all you need to know. She's got $5 million in there.
And that was them going, okay, we believe you.
Yeah.
So I was like,
yeah, and good old Jake is able to at least intimidate him enough that tells him, hey, Benjamin Chen has a truck that he's going to be transporting this weapon in.
He gave it up pretty easily.
Yes.
I guess the nail gun to your groin would do that.
Oh, actually, no. First, I'm sorry. That was we jumped a little ahead. They used his phone. They got him talking long enough.
That's right.
To copy all his speech patterns.
That's right. That was another one where I was kind of like, does that work? Can you do that?
Yeah. I mean, I guess. I mean, that seems like
we're not pushing Mission Impossible level with stuff here, like tech wise. I don't think. So I'm like, but I guess. I don't know. You look at your phones, the things you can do on your phone nowadays, maybe you can. Like, they got him talking. They weren't saying anything, but she said, yep, I got all the speech patterns or something that I need.
Yes.
And she was able to text his speech, and it translated as his voice.
Although it seemed, I mean, I guess unless you're like really paying close attention, but it just seemed like kind of robotic, kind of halting and pausing in that pattern.
Yeah. It wasn't like a speak and spell, like, my name is Vinnie Jones.
Yeah. But it felt like
they are got me. Meet me at. She's like,
backspace. Like, oh, all right.
But it worked.
Yeah, and it got them to the airplane where we get to see MacGyver jump into the airplane as it's taking off. Very much his Mission Impossible moment.
Yes, it was.
Yeah,
and on a TV budget,
that's right.
Looked great.
Yeah. And is able to get it to land.
That hydraulics or electrical, the graphics pop up. I'm like, do we need to know?
Now, I would have anything he would have cut in there. I would have assumed it's going to bring it down.
Yeah, little. It's like I got my knife. Little for you guys watching at home. Cutting anything on this thing, I'll land this plane. Done, MacGyver.
Yes,
done.
I would have bought that.
Much more. I want more narration, less text.
Yes,
the text.
Please.
The narration works.
Yeah, the text.
The text is a little too much.
I agree with that.
But lands the plane.
Yeah, lands the plane, and they get Nikki to confess that, hey, guess what? She's already sold it.
Yeah. to
Chen, and he is on his move because now she gets like all kind of dark. But it's like we need to use it. We need to wipe out part of this population.
Yeah, I was like, okay,
sure.
Just go, she's a little Ra's al Ghul in her. She's getting a little, got to start over here and kill people. Okay,
Yeah.
right. But hey, she needs some motivation.
Certainly, the motivation seemed to be like, hey, we're going to keep you here too. So when the bomb goes off, you'll die too.
That was the thing. It's like,
Yeah.
all right, okay, not going to tell us. Well, all right, we're going to die too.
Yeah.
And she tells him.
Yeah. And then we get our moment. Go ahead.
No, how did they get? Because they figured San Francisco. Didn't they figure something off the phone or something? Oh no, the name in the phone that the character had.
Yes.
It was like it was an author.
Yes.
And he wrote a poem about San Francisco
After the earthquake.
After the earthquake. So that's how that was. They were able to find he had not traveled yet.
Correct.
They were staying there. It was a thing in the phone. That was kind of cool.
Yeah. A little smart. Look at that MacGyver being smart. Yeah.
He's a smart guy.
Yeah. And then we get to our little cool action sequence for the episode. I mean, if you thought him getting into a taking off plane was cool, now we see him in a helicopter chasing a military vehicle there with a bomb inside of it that has the biological weapon attached to it. And I felt like kind of shoddy flying there by Jake. I mean, the helicopter was just like going like this the whole time. Like
I watched it, I was like, oh, that's a little dangerous, that stuntman up there. I don't know if he's doing that on purpose or maybe there's a line that they skipped out where they talk about the crosswinds or tailwinds getting that low or something. But that was, I was like, oh, there's a guy hanging off the side of that thing.
Ugh. And I felt there was no sense of urgency from inside the truck from Benjamin or his guy. They're just like, if I think I'd hear a helicopter like hovering really close to me.
Yeah, it was weird. It was a weird editing. I don't know. Something was weird. And James Wan, he directed a Fast and the Furious movie too. So it's just like, and this could be, I don't know. This could have been originally shot for the first pilot.
Yeah.
I don't think this. Again, I apologize, guys, but I want to get my hands on this copy because I don't think I know the concept of MacGyver changed where he was recruited into the group, whereas opposed to what we have now, he's part of it. That's easy to change with the new actors being brought in. It's those dialogue scenes.
Yeah.
But if the main crux is still a biological weapon, which was in the original script, is in this new script, that footage could have been the new stuff. I mean, that could have been the old show.
Just kind of reused.
Because it's only Georgie Eds and him.
Yeah. That's really
the
true.
only two actors we see, and those are the only two actors kept on. So I wonder, because that does not seem like James Wan to me, his style. That, for a guy that can do great chases and great action, that seemed wonky.
Yeah.
I'm very curious. I'm going to do some research and find out.
Awesome. I'm curious. Because I also felt like...
It felt weird. It just felt, like you said, there's no stakes. But the plane scene, that felt different. And I know they shot that for the new pilot.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because I saw that, and I saw James Wan in an interview on the set.
Oh, nice.
So that was new. So I wonder if that truck chase was in the original pilot before they scrapped it, because it feels weird.
Yeah, because it seems like for something, if you're trying to do this, that's kind of precious cargo you're carrying.
Yeah.
He only has one other guy in the truck with him. That's it.
Yeah.
Nobody else
And
like
it was
kind of
like-
riding shotgun.
And it's a military vehicle.
Yeah.
If you're going to drop it into a city, wouldn't you be as inconspicuous as possible?
You
Like a
would think that-
U-Haul?
Yes. Or just and also have some backup with you as well, just to make sure if anything does
a
happen.
car full of a couple guys with guns.
Yeah. None of that. It's just those two dudes by
So
themselves.
then that could go back to what were they doing in the original pilot? That they were in a military vehicle driving on that road. Maybe it was a different.
That's
maybe it was
true.
much more lower stakes.
Yeah.
Well, I'll find out. I'm going to get to the bottom of it.
Oh, all right. Mike is on the case. Look at
Get to
that.
the bottom of it.
All right. That's what I love.
But cool scene in the truck. He's got the whole typical situation with all the wires, which ones they cut, but they're all green.
that was a nice little twist on that
He
too.
didn't know what to do. There's like 12 of them.
Yeah. And what I liked about that scene is they didn't like draw it out for like minutes on end where he kind of agonizes about which one and kind of like this one, no, this one, no, this one. It's just like he made a choice and it wasn't the right one, but he didn't blow it.
I guess I'm picking it apart now that I'm thinking back to it. So he's like, Mac, you got company, guys coming over there. Well, he had a gun. Why didn't you shoot him from the plane? That's the whole point of your character.
Yeah,
You're to protect MacGyver. What do?
True.
You take your gun, you throw it to MacGyver. He threw it in, so the aim to throw it, and his helicopter's all doing this.
Yes.
And he's like, got it. Why didn't you just shoot him?
It was incredibly easy to get that gun to MacGyver.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm thinking if I'm following somebody in a moving vehicle and I'm flying a helicopter and
one
I'm
hand
trying
on
to
stick, I'm doing this.
Yes. Not that easy.
No, I think it'd be easier to shoot the guy.
Yeah. I would take that chance. Try to shoot him.
I mean, Or there could have been a line there. No, don't shoot me. I've got a biological weapon here. Please don't shoot me.
Yeah.
Please don't shoot down near this area. And he could have said, Mac, I'm a great shot. I'll get him.
Which, I mean, we've seen him already at the beginning.
And then he
be
could
a great
go,
shot.
hey, man, remember Cairo? He's like, okay, I won't shoot.
Yeah, see, there you go.
Again, writer's room. Take these down.
Get us, we're giving you nuggets.
Come
right
on.
there.
This is gold.
So he does throw him the gun, and he uses it as kind of like a billy club almost.
Again, true to MacGyver. Didn't use the gun to shoot him, which would have been easier.
Yeah.
But he didn't. MacGyver does not use guns to kill.
Which is cool. I did like that. And then he basically knows that, hey, this bomb is about to go off, but he's able to get the biologic out of it.
Yep.
And use the kind of the cut-up tarp to kind of fashion himself a little parachute.
Which was kind of cool.
To kind of glide out of the way.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, I like that.
Because I don't think it didn't say zip ties and canvas, did it at that point?
I don't think so.
I don't believe it did, because I was like, what has he got there? And he's like, these are zip ties and canvas. You got a parachute. I'm like, okay.
I'm with you.
I'm on board.
Yeah.
I don't think that'll work, but I'm on board. You know, they should put a disclaimer, kids don't try this stuff at home, because I was the kid at home that thought, like, I remember I saw James Bond, For Your Eyes Only, when he took a giant pool umbrella, and jumped off of a roof, and it used it. My parents had a giant pool umbrella, and I jumped off the roof. It didn't work.
No,
I just dropped straight down. It didn't even collapse in. It wasn't even high enough. It was just like... Didn't even help me. I was the kid that would do this stuff at home. That was me, growing up in the 80s. Jumping off my house with giant patio umbrellas.
Oh, man, that would have been awesome to see, though. I'd like that.
Oh, it was awesome.
Just to watch you crumple down.
I never forget, when I found out about zip lines and what the zip line was. You know, cable to buildings, and you slide down. Well, I was babysitting a friend's house, their dog, watching the house. So I took an extension cord. Tied it to my roof of my house to their house. I didn't know anything about angles and, you got to go to this. I just thought across, and I have a rope with a little pulley thing on it. I took one step off the roof, snapped down on my back, and then one of those, I can't breathe. I'm crying. I can't breathe. I think I broke my back. I can't breathe. You do one of those. I was the kid that these shows were for, that you should not be trying any of this. But...
So you are not a great MacGyver on your own?
No. I am not MacGyver at all.
All right. He's got the pocket knife, but he doesn't have all the ingenuity.
I don't have the smarts of it. I can admit that. I'm not book smart. I'm not the book smart guy. That's the difference with MacGyver and all of us.
There you go. That guy is well read.
And he land protecting the weapon.
Yes. And I feel like this is like the lamest ending for a bad guy, because he's driving and I guess he doesn't realize the bomb is active.
That was the thing. I was like, why didn't he stop the car? Because his buddy was going back there to get him.
Yeah.
I was like,
you would think you'd be looking out the rearview mirror watching this, and you see this guy taking off.
It was weird.
It was very anticlimactic.
From the minute wonky helicopter flying to anticlimactic bad guy sitting there, it was weird.
Yeah,
it all was shot weird. It felt weird. I don't know. Something's not right.
No, but we see Riley earns her keep, so she's going to be working with them now. She's going to continue her association with them.
The truck blew up because he pulled the weapon out.
Yes.
The biological weapon, but the explosives were still. So that blows up. Little explosion, then big explosion.
Yeah, I mean, pretty cool. We see some debris kind of flying around him and stuff. Kind of nicely done.
Yeah, and then they make her a permanent member of the team with them.
Yeah, and they find out, hey, but because of Nikki's kind of association and kind of everything that she's kind of revealed, this is kind of compromised, so we're going to disband the DXS.
So they came back to his house. That was there.
Yes.
Yeah, and they were saying, we're disbanding this. And I remember Riley goes and she picks up the pendant. And in my head, I'm like, oh, it's a Phoenix. Because throughout the episode, I'm like, they're not the Phoenix Foundation. Come on, that's part of what it is. So they're not the DXS, whatever. They're like, oh, okay, it's modern day. That's what they do. So they saw the little Phoenix. I'm like, oh, that's their nod to the Phoenix Foundation. But... Yeah.
And it was weird that they say, you can, but now you got to do your organization, and you can name it whatever you want.
So we're all together. We're still doing the same thing. We took all of our equipment. We're going to another site, but you name it.
Yeah, like, okay.
And what did he call it? Brewster's Millions or whatever? His Buck Squad or Duck Squad or something he came up with name. I'm like, but then he was like, because they're rising from the ashes. I get that. That's the Phoenix. Little on the head.
But that, because I felt like it was like the Phoenix. And then at the end, he just tags it on Foundation.
Yeah, that was weird. I was like...
wait, did you just change it to Foundation from Phoenix, or is it the Phoenix Foundation?
Yeah.
Which way is it going?
Because where did the Foundation come from?
Yeah, exactly.
And again, that's where you're being slavish to the original material, which in the pilot episode, he was working for the government in the original show. And then Phoenix Foundation came in a little later.
Okay.
Yeah, so they kind of threw that all out there. But again, it leads to the the tenet of writing a pilot, where the last 10 pages has to show where the show is going to go, and that did set up. These are the new team working for the Phoenix Foundation, moving forward.
And we find that Nikki, during her interactions...
that was nice. This is a little kind of tease at the end.
Yeah, she does tease that she's working for other people, this other organization. And so at the end, when she's incarcerated in cuffs, being led into prison or wherever she's going, they go through a tunnel. It gets really dark. As they come out, they hear the door kind of close, and they see a little hairpin on the floor.
Yeah.
She's picked the locks on her handcuffs and is bailed out.
And which was interesting because when showrunners or whatever they talk about, showrunners, the people in charge of the show, they talk about, they pitch a series to the network. They always have to say, you know, it's great if you could tell us a couple episodes, but where's the show going to be for a year or two? What's going to happen in the second year? So this is kind of, they've set that up where she can do what he does. You know, she picked the lock, and maybe she's like he is.
She's a little bit more than what she seems to be.
Yeah, so they've definitely set this other organization that's going to kind of be a point and counterpoint to them.
Could be interesting, yeah, to see like like the anti-MacGyver being a female.
Right.
It could be kind of cool.
I was always curious. You know, we talked this being a reboot. I don't know if you want to go into that yet, or
let's do it.
So we talk about this is. I'm of two minds of this show right now. I'm excited because I miss. I don't think we have enough of these throwback to the '80s. These serialized shows where it's every hour is just one. You don't have to watch 5 episodes in a row. It's not a continuous story. Sure, little nuggets build over episodes, but they're standalone episodes. You can pop in, you watch one, you know what's going on. Phoenix Foundation doing good stuff in the world. And I don't think we have enough of those out there. Last season, I really liked The Player with Wesley Snipes and Philip Winchester. And it was a throwback to those old type, you know, Knight Rider and like the stuff that I love. And I don't think we have enough of it. So I'm hoping it does well. It's interesting. I'll give my closing thoughts in a little bit later.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on like how much this mythology kind of presents itself through the course of the series, like especially this season. Is it something that they touch on every like 4 or 5 episodes?
Right.
Like around sweeps, do we kind of like get like another touchstone on this?
Around sweeps, do we get there's a character called Murdoch, which was his kind of like adversary. He was an assassin, a master of disguise, and he came back 3 or 4 times a year, and it was always like the one-up guy. Sometimes they teamed up together, so I'm sure Murdoch will eventually show up.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Hawaii Five-0, like Wolf Fat, where they kind of basically keep coming back and revisiting him for many seasons before they finally kind of reach an end with that character.
So it's interesting. I'm curious. Like they talk. The show themselves have said we have something in mind for Richard Dean Anderson. We want him, and he said, "I'm not part of that. I will not be part of it." And he didn't say negatively. He just was like, I forgot. I'll have to look it up for next time. He was just not. He said, no, it's not for me. But they had said, we have something for him. We know we want to work him in the show. We would love to have him. And he's kind of said, no, he's not going to, which is interesting.
But, I mean, I'd rather have that because one of my least favorite things about Ghostbusters this summer was seeing the original cast show up in these kind of cameos in this other film. It's like, that right there, much like we talked about MacGyver, I'd rather would have this been like this Ghostbusters that came out this summer, been a continuation of the original. 20 years later, we're just revisiting, and this universe, the original Ghostbusters existed. Now it's just women kind of running the organization.
I was not on board with that at all. I wanted, like, I was like, why didn't you just, your new franchise, 30 years later, the originals are dead in a crazy institution. Why do this reboot, but then bringing people back in? So he is Angus MacGyver in this, which was Angus MacGyver in the original. They mentioned his great-grandfather or his grandfather at one point in the show. So that was like, I was like, oh, is that who they're using as MacGyver? I'm curious why they went younger with him. Because to me, this character, MacGyver, with his smarts, the older would seem he's had more experience.
Yeah, a little more seasoned. You can kind of buy that he's kind of like this fountain of knowledge and kind of can know what to do.
The fact that CBS, which skews older with their shows, and now this goes back to what you said at the beginning of the show, where CW tried something. This, what we got, seemed very geared towards a CW audience. And maybe that's what CBS is trying to do. Maybe they're trying to broaden and get a younger crowd with this. Lucas Till, which I had no problems with him in the episode. I didn't mind him. It just seemed like a CW from the mid-2000s with the casting.
Yeah.
With the cool hacker, and I don't know, it just seemed...
But now when you say, like, oh, if they would have done an alternate casting and had George Yads doing it as... I could see that now that you bring that up, it's like, that could have been a really cool show, is him being MacGyver.
Yeah.
Instead of Lucas Till. And he just
and then you have the character of Dalton be younger, kind of have like an old man dynamic with a young guy, like
Yeah.
hot shot, gunfighter, good fighter, and kind of it would change the dynamic.
Yes.
You know, or if they want to maybe make MacGyver a girl, if they were really gonna go for it and reboot, you know, have that done. So I don't know why they stuck so close, and they went back and when they took the original pilot, now this pilot, they made his hair like Richard Dean Anderson, as close you get as a mullet without it being a mullet. So I'm like, and he's got the leather jacket in the episode, so they really MacGyvered him to be like Richard Dean Anderson. Yeah. So it's just like in this day and age, I'm like, with reboots, and I know every writer out there has got so many stories they want to tell and create new characters, but it's the networks. It's kind of like with movies. It's franchises and sequels because that's what sells. So it's the name MacGyver that's bringing people in. But I did notice it had the highest ratings in 10 years in that time slot because it's not getting favorably reviewed, this pilot.
Very true.
But news thing came up and I was like, it's got the highest ratings in 10 years in that spot it had on Friday night.
Because I think people just they just know MacGyver. I mean, MacGyver's been such a thing.
Proof right there. That shows. Yeah. So going forward, I think the material is there for a great show. And I should say this, and this is just from all the years of watching TV, is that pilots used to be, you'd get the pilot, you'd go for a series. If you got picked up for a pilot and they liked it, you'd get 22 episodes, 24 episodes. And you had that time to develop and work your characters in. Nowadays, shows are gone after 2 weeks.
That's very true.
But this, I think, has a episode order. I want to say maybe 13, which is now, they say, is a new full season, which it's not. It's
no, if you don't get back 9, then that's kind of like a good signal that you're not coming back for a second season.
Yeah, and it sucks that they do that because they give the false hope that it's there. Because they don't want, because if they told the audiences, they're only doing 13 episodes, everyone's like, well, I'm not going to invest.
Yeah.
They're like, no, full season, 13. So they're trying to mess with you. So we've got 13 episodes coming. I know they've shot 6 already. But it shows like this, like I'll never forget it with Arrow. I really wanted to like that, and the pilot was like Batman Begins light. Around episode 16 or 17, because they went 24 or 22 the first episode. Around 16, 17, it got good, like real good. Finished strong, and then season 2 was, which still people consider to be the best season so far.
Yeah.
So this show, I think, has the potential to be really good.
Yeah, if you give it time to kind of grow and tweak.
And I think, and not just so much as an audience member, because the first couple episodes are going to be rough, because they were still filming before this even came out. New episodes. So I think if they get the chance to get that back 9, we could be in for something good. Because CBS, I don't think, has anything like this. There's no real good action. I think, is this Person of Interest last season, or was it just it ended? So, so they don't really have a show similar to this.
Lucas Till, the new Jim Caviezel.
There we go. So I think I want to give it a shot. There was stuff I liked, and you know, so hopefully they will, of course, not course correct. That's a bad word, but fine tune what works and what doesn't.
Well, we have no choice because we're going to be here every single week, Mike,
Sounds
breaking
good.
down every single episode of the season for hopefully at least 13, if not 22 episodes.
Leather jacket was a bad choice for me because it's hot. So I probably won't be wearing that, but.
All right, but just know, folks, just picture Mike right now in this leather jacket. Just know that even though you might not have it
Pocket
on
knife.
him and this pocket knife, it's always close to him.
So they know. If they know, follow me on DC Movie News or wherever. They know the story of the leather jacket.
Oh, all right.
Part of my thing, I think.
No, there you Well, folks, as we're going to wrap up at the end of this episode, please like us on Facebook, give us those 5 stars on iTunes, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hop in the chat, share your thoughts about the episode, the series, your favorite episodes of the old school version of MacGyver.
Are we going to be able to live chat? Do we live chat?
Yeah, we can pull up actually next
So
episode.
when I have a computer, I can do that? 'Cause
Yeah,
I love talking to people.
Or we can
I
pull up the
love
live
it.
chat on the screen too. Next week we'll pull up the live chat during the show.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love talking to people.
Oh, look at this. All right, we're going to be, yes. So, folks, look at that. We didn't have the live chat going on this time, but next week, get on the live chat with us here. Mike and I will, you can just bend our ear. We'll talk to you all about
Absolutely.
kind of
I
stuff.
love
Yes.
talking to people. Like, that takes up too much of my day, I think. A little too much. I go down the Twitter rabbit hole sometimes, but it's fun. I love interacting with people.
Well, speaking of that, if they want to continue the conversation even after the show's over, Mike, where can they find you on the Twitterverse?
At Mike Kalinowski. That's where I'm at.
There you go. And if you want any of the DC movie news, check out Popcorn Talk.
Yeah,
Mike is
DC
on
Movie News. I do that show, a Character Corner, which is kind of an offshoot of DC Movie News on the show. That's where I am.
Look at that. You can follow me on Twitter at HappyGoJackie.
Happy Go Jackie.
Happy Go Jackie.
Why won't Roxy say it? And I saw that in the email.
know.
She won't say it?
I'll make her say it one day.
She'll
That is
say
my
it.
goal. She will say it.
And real quick, how cool was it in the episode, the music? They did the theme, but had an kind of a modern thing.
Yes.
The only thing play out so quick as the credits were there. I want to hear that. I'm trying to find the guy who did the composing on Twitter because I want to hear the whole theme. It was a great theme.
A very
great theme. So I was cool for that. I love music. So.
Oh my God. All right, folks, that's going to do it for this episode of the MacGyver After Show. We will be back next week breaking down next week's episode as well as the rest of the season here Sunday nights, 11 o'clock here on AfterBuzz TV. We'll see you then.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.